Following textbook legal advice may end up in a great result in the courtroom, but it also increases the likelihood of you being arrested roadside. That's up next. Hello, my name is Jeff Lauder. At work every single day, I help people resolve their legal problems. Here on YouTube, my goal is to prevent the problems from happening in the first place. Subscribe for weekly content. I look forward to getting to know you. There's a couple problems following textbook legal advice when you're in a stressful police situation. First, best laid plans. We've all heard those types of sayings. Under the stressful situation, you don't resort to the proper legal advice and it just doesn't work. That's the one problem. The second problem is that the sound legal doctrine doesn't necessarily give you a strategy to prevent the arrest in the first place. Let's talk about both of those a little bit more in depth. Let's take the first one on. Everybody knows the basic legal premise of you don't have to talk to the cops. Invoke my rights, I want a lawyer, everybody understands that. But the problem is, in the thousands of arrests I've made, I cannot tell you how many people have said, hey, I know I shouldn't be talking to you, and they end up talking anyway. It doesn't work. For whatever reason, people don't follow that traditional advice of keeping their mouth shut, and they open their mouths anyways. So from a practical standpoint, I'm not sure that advice applies to everyone. It should apply to everyone, and don't talk. But man, for whatever reason, you're going to, or people are going to. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, wouldn't happen to me. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't talk to the cops. But I would defer back to the Mike Tyson quote, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. If you haven't been put in a stressful situation with the police during an interview, a field interview, or whatever type of interaction where your behaviors are being questioned, then I would encourage you to continue watching this channel and these videos, because you don't know what's going to happen to you during that event. You may end up standing strong on your principles. You may not talk to the cops. I get it. That's great if you do. But if that falls by the wayside, some of the stuff I provide in this channel is going to help you out. So this leads me to the second reason why traditional legal advice may wind you up in jail, even though it would be the case at the end of the day. And sometimes that's going to happen. So it's not a wholly bad thing. A lot of the strategies you employ are knowing you're going to be arrested, but you'll have your day in court. But that's not always the case, or at least in my opinion. The entire breadth of legal doctrine that attorneys use to base their advice on is after people have been arrested. Think about that for a second. These are all the people who have been caught. How many people do you think the seasoned attorney is represented that didn't get caught? Very, very, very few. Because if you don't get caught or you don't get arrested and there's no criminal charge, then there's no attorney to hire. There's no case law made. There's no court rulings. There's no hearings. So the traditional legal advice that's sound in a courtroom doesn't necessarily give you the best strategy to have a cop let you go on the side of the road. Now we're talking gray area here stuff where the cop has a lot of discretion. We're talking about traffic tickets, traffic stops with small amounts of marijuana, potentially DUI charges, things where the officers have leeway. Most people are good people that have made a mistake and found themselves in a bad situation. That's who I'm speaking to here. You are my target audience. And you're also the more likely people that aren't going to say screw off to the cop when he walks up to the car. Because overall, you don't have a general disdain for the cops. So that tendency makes you more susceptible. Sorry about the tangent. Sometimes I get riled up when talking about this stuff. Let me get back on track. Here's the problem. The strategy used to prevent someone from being arrested in the first place is oftentimes different than the strategy used to ensure you're not convicted in court. And oftentimes the strategy is the same. It lines up perfectly. But where the strategies differ, I'm trying to provide you insight into how you can use that and step away from the traditionally legally sound doctrine to see if there's a chance, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40% chance that you get out of the problem in the first place. So that's what this secondary approach is, and that's what Legal Bro is all about, is providing you real world advice from both sides of the equation to help you succeed. So there's kind of a mathematical formula I've come up with this. Does the harm caused to your potential criminal case in court outweigh the chance of your behaviors getting you let go on the roadside. So now that I've explained the theory, let me give you a practical example of how this works. You're driving down the road, you get pulled over for a simple speeding infraction. The cop walks up to your window and says, hey, can I have your license, registration, proof of insurance? As you're gathering stuff, he says, where are you coming from? Where are you heading to? And your response is, officer, I don't answer any questions from law enforcement. That's going to trigger a response in the officer. And recently there's been a big push towards identifying sovereign citizens. And when you say something like that, you are kind of triggering red flags of their training that you may be a non-compliant, and they're taught that sovereign citizens are dangerous. And maybe rightfully so. I'm not arguing. That's a whole other story, a whole other topic. But regardless of whether there's any danger or not, the fact is that you are triggering a response mechanism in their brain that's going to request them or exponentially increase the chance of them calling for backup. And when they call for the backup, they're going to probably suggest somehow that you're non-compliant. Can I get a routine backup? Got a non-compliant here. Guy won't answer my questions. They're going to say something. And when that something is said over the radio, that's going to trigger a response from all the cops listening. They're going to perk up. Supervisors are going to perk up their attention because those are trigger words that generally lead to a foot pursuit, a fight, something going bad happening. Now, because of that, you are going to boost the adrenaline levels of the cops in the surrounding area, and those cops are going to proceed to back up your officer, and they're probably going to be in a slightly more aggressive tone than they would be had that comment not been made. So now, your traffic stop, which was just for a simple speeding infraction, one officer, you were looking at a traffic ticket. Now you're going to have 2 or 3 officers show up on scene, and they're going to be looking to agitate you more. They're going to be pushing your buttons. They're going to be looking for reasons to get you out of the car. They're going to escalate what's going on, and they may or may not find something to place you under arrest for. I don't know. That's not the point. The point is you are spotlighting yourself for negative police attention by following that traditional doctrine. That's going to help you out in court if you don't say anything. I agree. But if you tell the guy where you're coming from, that's not going to cause you any harm either. So the benefit of saying, officer, I don't speak to you, I don't talk to cops, is not good. That does no good for your case. Cops let people go all the time when they should have been arrested. I've seen with my own eyes, and I've actually let people go. I've seen this hundreds and hundreds of times over the 13 years. People have walked away from situations where they should have been arrested. They got no charges, no nothing. They were just able to use persuasion in their behavior and their actions to have the cops show leniency. And the type of persuasion that is required totally depends on the circumstance you're involved with. But I'll tell you what's not persuasive. I don't talk to cops. Yeah, good luck with that.